Startups don't just fail when they're small. Quite often they actually fail when they start to scale. And in the early stages, everything feels fast and simple. There's a small team, there's clear priorities, and decisions happen rapidly. But as the company grows, that's when things can start to change. That's a sort of first big evolution. And what worked early on really starts to break once that point of scale kicks in. Scaling introduces complexity faster than most founders expect and realize. You're adding more people, more customers, more products, more decisions, but the systems and ways of working often don't evolve at the same pace. So what usually happens is the company becomes harder to operate, decisions really slow down, and alignment between everyone just starts to break. And this is where a lot of startups start to lose momentum. There are a few things that consistently break as companies scale, and understanding these is critical if you want to avoid them. The first thing that really breaks down is communication. When the team is small, communication is so easy. Everyone knows what's going on and context is just shared naturally. But as you scale, information becomes really fragmented. Alignment drops. Different parts of the business start moving in completely different directions. And what used to happen through conversation now is crying out for some sort of structure. And if you don't build that structure, you'll lose clarity very quickly. The second thing that breaks is hiring. In the early stages, you can get away with hiring generalists, people who can really do a little bit of everything. But as a company grows, the roles start to become and need to become more defined. And the mistakes that you can make at these moments can become a lot more expensive. So some of the common issues at this point are either hiring too early, hiring too late, or hiring the wrong profile and skill set for the stage that you're at. And if hiring doesn't evolve with the company, it can create real significant bottlenecks very, very quickly. The third thing that breaks is decision making. Early on, decisions are made really quickly and usually by a small group of people or even just the founder at that point. But as the company grows, you have more people involved, more data available to you, and more trade-offs that need to be considered in making that decision. And that really slows decisions down. Or worse, they become sort of unclear. You have no idea which decision to make. And this is where having a clear decision-making framework becomes critical. Understanding what matters, what stage you're at, and why that decision is critical for you. The fourth thing that breaks down is economics. In the early stages, you can get away with inefficiencies because you're at a much smaller size and they can just stay hidden. Smaller team and a lower cost base. But as you scale, burn starts to increase, complexity starts to increase, and those inefficiencies begin to compound. And if you're not careful, growth starts to come at the expense of efficiency, and that becomes very difficult to unwind later. The reason this happens is very simple. Most founders continue to operate the company in the same way they did in the early stages. They apply the early stage thinking to later stage problems, but scaling requires almost a completely different approach. It requires more structure, clearer systems, and better prioritization. Avoiding this isn't about overcomplicating things. It's about evolving deliberately. So one, add the structure gradually. Don't overbuild super early, but also don't wait until it's too late. Two, be clear on your priorities. As your complexity increases, clarity becomes really critical. 3, evolve how your decisions are made. What worked with 5 people, know that won't also work with 50. And 4, align teams around what matters. Everybody needs to understand what the company is focused on right now and why you are focused on that right now. Scaling in and of itself does not break companies, but failing to adapt when that moment comes does. The companies that scale successfully are the ones that evolve how they operate as they grow. They recognize that what got them there won't get them to where they need to be in the future. And so they build accordingly.